Good morning, everybody. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. I did. You should see that back end of this. My office is in the midst of IKEA renovation. So it's a big kind of mess in here. So hopefully all you see is my little sphere right here, because that's the only part that's kind of not a mess right now. So anyways, today I thought we would talk about sleep rhythms and mom sleep rhythm and kid sleep rhythm, sort of the foundation, excuse me, of your home. It's really often when I say, "Are you getting up before your kids?" Most moms go, "But my kids aren't going to bed until 9:30 or 10 o'clock, and then I feel like I don't have any time to myself, and my husband, I don't have any time." So we have to sort of back that up and figure out, like, all right, why are your kids not going to bed until 9:30? So let's start with sort of the rhythm of the day and how you can keep this late night thing from happening. And I'm going to say a couple of things here. And if you have questions, I want you to please send me a PM and ask me about it. One, there is an amazing book that I'm almost through. I've been reading it bit by bit because even though the book is only this thick, the print is so tiny. The print's really tiny, but it's an amazing book, so I'm trying to soak each little bit of it in. It's called Sleep by Audrey Mcallen, and she also wrote The Extra Lesson, and she's an amazing Waldorf teacher that you can glean some things from. And the sleep book talks about the different stages of sleep and how each stage sort of corresponds to different relationships in our life, whether it be your relationship with nature, or your relationship with the people around you, your relationship with God, or the divine, or your angels, or whatever you want, whatever noun you want to put on that. So the book is really good. So that sort of prompted me, that and a whole lot of other people that are saying to me, "I can't get sleep in order. How is it that you get sleep in order in your house?" So I have 5 children who all have had different sleep rhythms. And none of them have, like even though we sleep in our house, it is because that's a priority that I put on all of us. So, and because they put that priority on it, it sort of sets the tone for the house. I put the priority on it because as a choleric, my trigger to make me like crazy lady is not enough sleep. So I don't like being a crazy lady, and the people around me don't like it when I'm a crazy lady. So, they're all like, they're all on it because they know mom needs sleep, and mom won't go to bed until she knows everybody else is taken care of. So backing up to your daily rhythm, you really need to, if you've got little ones, especially, I would say the first 6 months, you're probably okay. Maybe even the first 9 months, you're okay. By the time you hit 12 months, you really don't want a bunch of napping happening late in the afternoon. And from there on forward, just because then you're having a harder time with the nighttime routine. So if you're not in that place and you're more in I've got 4 and 5 year olds, even 3 and 5 year olds that will not get to bed, or I've got older kids that will not get to bed, because people will say to me, "How do you get your teenagers to sort of shut the day down that early?" And it's because they know, it's because they respect my sleep. And even if they're not asleep before I'm asleep, they're in bed and things are like cocooned and shut down. So I would say for anybody that's got children under 10 even, putting them in the bed between 7:30 and 8:30 is golden. Golden. And if the younger they are, the closer to 7:30, the better. So how do I do that? Because, see, in a Waldorf, we got to make a big deal out of everything. Not just because somebody says, "Oh, we're going to light a candle and we're going to do this and we're going to sing 4 songs and we're going to read a bunch of stories." Don't do all of that. I think that's a great rhythm if you have 1 child. Even if you have 2 children, that's probably an okay rhythm. When you have children of several different ages, you really have to sort of streamline that sleep rhythm. I think that it's beautiful if that's what you can do. But there are also many other things that you can do that are equally as beautiful. So right now, and this is our sleep rhythm with 3 kids all in 1 bedroom. So when we moved from our big house in mid-city to the beach, everybody knew that meant they were all going to have to share. So, and they were all on board with that. And so right now we have a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 15-year-old all in the same room. All of them retire around the same time. Sometimes Ellie stays up later. She's got some work she wants to work on, or she wants to paint. She's 15, so she's up in the dining room sort of doing that. The younger two, we're sort of between 7:30 and 8:30. We're like cocooning and settling down, and getting ready. You know, everybody's already brushed their teeth. We start that at about 7 o'clock. Teeth brushing, pajamas on. You know, that means I'm watching the time. That means I know what time dinner needs to be eaten. And we have a couple of late nights a week where we've got actually 3 late nights a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, where we've got kids that are out. So that means whichever parent is home has to sort of be on top of that. And so if you're the one who needs to be on top of that and you've got kids that have things out, then you send your husband to go do the pickups and the drop-offs. Now, when we lived mid-city and we were driving back and forth from Ocean Beach every day for karate, that was dang hard, and it was really hard on everybody's sleep. But because I am hyper aware of sleep, that was like a huge motivator to get moved, to get to where we want to be. And seriously, for my kids, it was like, well, either you change dojos, or we figure out how we can get moved so we can get the sleep under control. And they were all on board because they were all exhausted. So, and again, and that doesn't mean I ask my kids permission. Like, seriously, I don't. We talk about it as a family, and I take everybody's input, and then we go from there. Because Eric and I are the decision makers. We have stewardship over these children, and as part of that stewardship, that means we have to make the decisions. Sometimes they're not fun decisions, and sometimes they're not decisions that everybody will love. But that's what stewardship means. It means you're making the decisions for your kids and for your family. So when we're talking about bedtimes, again, if you've got kids that are going to be out, you send your partner to go take care of the kids that need to be picked up. The other thing that I tell my kids, I go, okay, so can you carpool? Especially Eleanor, because there's one night a week when she's out till 8:30 or 9, and I want to know, can you carpool? So I've arranged for some of the parents, because it's a church function, I've arranged for some of the parents so that I'm taking kids in the morning, early in the morning, when they, so that they don't have to climb out of bed, and I'm already doing that, if they'll take care of her on Wednesday nights. So, you know, get to know the people in your community, get to know the other people in nighttime and evening classes, and see if you can arrange carpooling. That is golden when you can do that. If you can't do that, then you have to sort of work around some other things as far as sort of getting everybody back on the same page. But if you don't have any evening commitments, this is really good nighttime rhythm conversation. So at 7:30, by then they're already, like I said, back to that. They've already got their PJs on. They've already brushed their teeth. We are ready for prayer. Perhaps a story if they want a written story. That happens sometimes. They've been to the library and they got a ton of books and they want me to read something. Otherwise, I use Sparkle Stories a lot. And I don't get any money for Sparkle Stories. They should have an affiliate program. I use them a ton. Like, we download stories all week long. So we had a subscription a couple of years ago, and we're still going through the subscription stories. A note for parents that have kids of special needs: do not give them a brand new story at night. You need to properly vet that story several times during the day, so that at nighttime they're not keeping themselves up for the new story. So, and it's probably not just kids with special needs for sure, but certain temperaments will probably do that. I would say cholerics might want to stay up for the whole story. Sanguines might want to stay up for the whole story. So if I want my kids to fall asleep during that story, I put on a repetitive story, a story that they've heard several times, a story that that's one that they like. So I might give them a choice of, and I like Sam pick one night, and Soraya pick one night. I might give them a choice from 5 stories and say, all right, pick 2. The Sleepy Time Sparkle Stories are 16 minutes a piece, about 13 to 16 minutes. So I put that on a playlist and give them a hug and a kiss after we say our prayers, and I leave the room. Now they're sleeping in the same bed, so that is very easy for that because they're snuggled up together, and that sort of begets the sleep. So if you've got, say, a 3 to 5 year old and you're trying to get them to sleep on their own, when we were in the other house and Soraya was too busy for my bed, for anybody to sleep, whether she was there, but not quite wanting to stay by herself, I would do the same routine, and I would lay down with her in her bed. And sometimes that meant I stayed there all night because I was really tired, and it was 7:30. Often Eric would come and wake me up at about 9:30 and go, "Do you want to come back to our bed?" And I would get up and go back to the bed. And she would stay put because she had fallen asleep with me. She'd gotten into a deep sleep with me. I also use a whispering technique that I blogged about before, and in what it is, and I do it. I start when they're really little, like birth, and just start. Mom's here. I love you. You're safe. It's okay to sleep. And just like whispering, so then as they get older, Mom's gonna get up and work now. Just sleep. So if you're having a hard time sort of extracting yourself from the bed in the morning because they're waking up, work on the whispering technique. The whispering technique is golden. So I've been an attached parent for almost 20 years. Next month, and let's see, today's the 19th of December. Tomorrow, a month from tomorrow, it will be 20 years since Harry was born. I can't believe it. It's kind of crazy. And so I've been an attached parent for that long. That means that I've co-slept for a lot of years. and so I get it. If you're co-sleeping, it's really hard to extract yourself out of the bed and pull yourself away from the baby. So what I've done is I've always had my laptop right there, and I've been able to sit up in bed, and you can dim your screen on your laptop. If you're using your phone, dim the screen on your phone as much as possible so that you're not waking them up. Sort of turn your body a little bit so that your body's there. I've been doing this a long time, so I have a lot of techniques. So your body's there, but the phone's here, so the light is going this way and not down in their face. If you can't get out of bed, utilize the technology that you have to sort of keep you in the bed. If you can get out of the bed, and again, like I said, I use the whispering technique. I let them know as they're going to sleep the night before that I have some things they need to do in the morning. And I phrase it like this: I know you love having a happy mommy. Mommy needs a little bit of time by herself, and then when you get up, when it's time for you to get up, I will come and snuggle you awake. We'll snuggle together in the morning. We'll do our, whatever it is that they really are looking forward to doing in the morning, then we do that together. If they're kids that are insisting on getting up with you, I really try to make it as boring as possible. And they have to be quiet. That's sort of the deal with them. If they're following me out of bed, they have to have, it's quiet time. It's not TV time. It's not, sometimes I will put on a quiet sparkle story. If Soraya gets up early, and request that she lay in her bed, and look at books during the sparkle story. And those are things that I put in place. And she knows it, so she knows it's not really exciting to get up early, so she'd much rather just sleep and then get up when it's time. And again, that's because I sort of put forth this expectation, and a lot of it is how the rest of my parenting goes. They know that when I've asked something, that I have an expectation that it happens. And people say to me, "So what do? Beat them into submission when they don't obey?" And no, of course not. Of course not. But because they have that expectation, they're trying to meet it. Children will absolutely work to rise to where you're asking them to be. You don't have to beat them into submission. It's called, loving guidance, firm but loving boundaries, and helping them to understand what that is and what that means. But that starts from day one. So if you're on day, 5,042 and you're trying to figure out, okay, that would make them really old. If you're on day 3,000, 2,000, and you're trying to figure out, like, wait a minute, I didn't start this with day one. It takes time, and it takes a lot of effort on your part, and it takes you sort of deciding that I want to be in the role of this person that has stewardship over these children, and I want to be the strong parent that they need. Because I'm telling you, the only way that a lot of temperaments through children will respect you is if they know you're commanding the respect. So a melancholy will often yield to another melancholy mom. That's not a big deal. Or if they clash, they'll clash a bit, but then it's not a big deal. A choleric needs, even a melancholy or a phlegmatic mom, to stand in a choleric place and command respect. And that, again, that's not like a yelling at them. That's the standing. It's the way you hold yourself and the way you hold your space. So, and that's like we could do a whole day on just that. But that's all about your inner work, how you feel about yourself, where you draw your strength. And you can do that regardless of your temperament. You can be a dynamic parent and be a quiet parent. And I watch it all the time. I watch some of the wonderful moms at our co-op that I had the pleasure of being with every week, and I watch them sort of hold this amazing space. And it's just, it's a breath of fresh air, and it's beautiful, and I love it. And they're not the same temperament than I am. So, but when you've got kids that are really strong-willed, they need you to sort of meet them at that place, and you can do that in a strong and firm and loving way. As Eric and I build Parents Who Thrive over the next year, you're going to see some videos on how to do that, like how to work on clashing, and because we're going to be working on those things from a very heart-centered way. And I know there's a ton of parenting stuff out there, but there's not a ton of parenting stuff out there that says work on you first, then you can work on that relationship. So as Thrive Parenting gets bigger, you'll see some of that from us. But back to sort of sleep. So again, they're down early. They're down by 7:30 or so. And the way to do that is you can't have naps that last after 3. When parents say to me, oh, my 3-year-old's working to give up their nap, I go, great, that's awesome. That means your bedtime can come up further. So if you've got a 3-year-old that's not napping, then I would say your bedtime is like between 6:45 and 7:15. And that means you got to get your dinner on the table when it's supposed to be. Now, if you've got dad that works later and you're trying to capture that together, I would say have a conversation with dad that goes something like this. They really need sleep. I really need to get them to bed. So I love you, and I am happy to wait and eat with you after, but I got to get these kids fed so I can get them to bed. And if you can come to dad with a solution to the problem, not I'm complaining at you because you work so late, then most of the time dad's going to say, of course, they're my kids. Of course, I'm going to be really sad that I didn't see them. But of course, I'm happy to wait and eat dinner when we eat dinner together, you and I. Or maybe if dad's coming in right around 7 because you're going to be really excited because they haven't seen him all day, talk to dad about ways that he can enter the house and kind of come right into the bedtime routine, and talk to your kids. We're not going to get super crazy. You can be crazy about dad in the morning, or make Saturday and Sunday or dad's day offs big days for just dad. If dad is really committed to sort of being in that space with them, then you let him take those days and make them like grandiose, so that he really has a good amount of time with them, because that's super important that kids feel connected to dad. It's also super important that they're getting sleep. And at these ages, sleep is more important, because if you don't get that sleep part right, they're not right all day long, and then you're not right all day long. So you're sort of running this race of trying to figure out, okay, well, I'm not getting into bed until midnight, and I'm not getting in bed till midnight because these kids aren't getting in bed till 9, and then I really want to have the kitchen ready in the morning, and I really haven't gotten all my lesson planning done, and there's no way I'm getting up before my kids now because they get up at 7, and blah, 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 and it keeps going, and then, when you put energy to something, it just grows. So bring it back down, and let's look at solutions to that situation. And again, if you've got a specific solution, you think this lady cannot help me, send me a message. I bet I can. We will work on it. If you are willing and pliable, I'm happy to work on it with you. So again, sort of back up your dinner, and that also means you're taking care of not having too many snacks too close to dinner so that they're wanting to eat. You want them to eat and be ready to eat at dinner time, and then you want anything that happens after dinner to sort of slow down, be quiet. Often I will put on those newer Sparkle Stories, ones maybe they haven't heard, after dinner, as they're just sort of looking at books, chilling out. I try not to have any TV, none, within 2 hours of bedtime. Doesn't always happen because, maybe there's something they've really been waiting to watch all day long, and because I'm kind of a TV Nazi, they haven't gotten to watch it. So when I run out of excuses about why they can't watch it, they're like, really, Mom? Obviously it's nothing big because it's the Nielsen house, so it's not a big deal. But still, but I try not to have anything. Try to keep those 2 hours or so, at least hour and a half before bed, is a very sacred, quiet time. So that's like right now, it's Advent season. That's when we light our candles and we have quiet stories. And I often will leave the dinner dishes if they're not, if there's a lot of them and I've already got the food, I'll put back in the fridge because they're all helping me. They help me clear the table. If the dishwasher is empty, it's really easy to just plunk things into there. If you're doing dishes by hand, I feel your pain. Did that for a lot of years. I would put them into soak, and then I would walk in and do your nighttime rhythm with them, and then come back to the dishes because remember, they're going to bed around 7:30. Come back to the dishes after you get them to bed. So it's all about sort of looking at that nighttime rhythm. A lot of moms are just concerned about what's going on during the day. You really got to look at that nighttime rhythm because the nighttime rhythm informs then your daytime rhythm. It informs how you feel because if your kids aren't getting into bed until 9:30 or 10, you're not getting into bed until 11 or 12. But if they're getting in bed at 7:30, between 7:30 and 8, then you have this nice buffer. So don't go crazy with that buffer. Once my kids are in bed at night and everything shuts down, and I mean everything shuts down. All the lights are off in my house. The only lights that are on generally are the kitchen lights if I have something to finish up. And then those lights go off. And we live in, our living space is 820 square feet. And my office space is separate, but our living space is 820 square feet. It's small. So if there's one light on, then they're all like, wait a minute, why are there lights on? So I shut everything down. So if you've got a small house, I feel you, and use that to your advantage. The only lights that are on are the ones in my bedroom, and my door is usually shut. Now, I definitely check on them. They are, 5 and 10, so I will check on them, and by checking on them, because I've left their door sort of cattywampus and not totally open, I can just sort of lean my ear and listen, make sure there's no talking, and then I'll come back, 45 minutes later, take away the piece of media that they were listening to the Sparkle story on, walk away. But it's all about your intention and sort of kind of cultivating that, sculpting it to where you want it to be. So then, I have to be in the bed, and I can knit in the bed for a little bit. But like for me, it's got to be 9. But I get up really early. So if you're trying to sort of cultivate that early morning time for your personal stuff, for lesson planning, then absolutely, work to be in the bed at 9 and the lights out by 9:30 or 10 at the latest. If you can do 10 to 5, great. That's 7 amazing hours. If you are still nursing and you're still struggling, then I say you go to bed when they go to bed so that you can get that sleep on the front end. And then you can pick it up on the other end. If you've got dishes or things like that to do, then work on, some of the things I tell people when you're by yourself, utilize that time wisely. So maybe you're doing the dishes. Maybe you're listening to podcasts about the curriculum. Or if you're one of our Thinking, Feeling, Willing members, maybe you're listening to inner work podcasts or videos that you're trying to catch up on while you're doing the dishes. Put headphones in. There are so many ways that you can do that and accomplish those things later in the evening as your kids have already gone to bed. So don't feel like, oh no, I have to do all of this in a specific way. Be open. I mean, that's one of the most amazing things about sort of attracting things to yourself that you need is when you say, I need more time, then you have to step back and you have to sort of watch as the universe aligns itself and shows you where you can have more time and not sort of think it has to come in this package. So when you sort of back up and look at all the different ways it could come to you, then it's sort of this beautiful thing as things orchestrate themselves to line up for you to be then in alignment with them and work on those things. So I hope this has been helpful with regards to sleep. I know that sleep is a huge deal. If you've got kids that just won't sleep, and I get that one a lot, my kids just won't sleep. Again, you have to look at a couple of different things. I want you to look at their diet. I want you to look at when they're napping, and if they're not napping, sleep begets more sleep. So don't think that a non-napping, exhausted child is really awake at 9 o'clock. That means you've lost their sleep window. So usually the sleep window is that around between 6 and 8 p.m. So if you're up at 10 o'clock, you've lost their sleep window. They've gotten their second wind or their third wind, and that exhaustion is it's all this pent up energy, and really you need to back it off. So you really have to get good at observing and paying attention. Now, I've had special needs kids too now, one at the beginning and one at the end, and I had to get really good at observing those needs, because those sleep needs were very different for my other kids. Harry could have gone to bed. He could take a 3-hour nap and then still go to bed at 7 o'clock. Soraya, opposite. Like, she seriously could keep herself awake. Yeah, indefinitely. So often with her, it was me like laying in bed with her when it was she and I, and we were at the other house. I would lay with her after rubbing her down, and that's another thing. I rub my kids down with oils every night. Every night. It promotes sleep and restfulness. You can use lavender. I really love the new Serenity from doTERRA. Anything that is like a calming agent is amazing. So I really, really promote rubbing them down. I start with their feet, and I try not to make it too tickly. So I don't use the roller ball at night, because then Soraya just loses it, and it doesn't, then we're not getting to sleep. So I put it in my hand. I make sure the oils are warm. Use a good carrier, work on their feet, work on their legs, and then I move on to their back. And we do that sort of before that 7:30 mark. So that's already, when I say they've gotten their brush their teeth and they're in their pajamas, that happens like them before they actually get in the bed and cozy up. So I've rubbed them down. When we were in the other house, and because she was like a wet fish trying to get her to lay still. So she would even say, "Mom, it's so hard to lay still. I can't lay still." So after I rub her down, we would get cozy, which would really sort of irritate her sometimes. But I would say, "Mommy, it's so cold. You don't want me to be cold? Can we just be cozy together?" And then she'd cozy up to me, and we have to hold hands. Holding hands sort of calms her down. Sometimes I have to rub her back. So if you've got a child that really has a hard time calming, think about all of the things that you can do to sort of, help that child calm down. But here's the deal. If you're exhausted and you're like sort of irritated and pissed off, then it's too late at night. You need to be backing that up. You don't want to be doing that at 10 o'clock at night. You don't want to be doing that at 9 o'clock at night. You're exhausted then, and you just want them to go to sleep. So you need to figure out where that time is that you're missing, because you are missing a sleep cue. Now, there are occasions where we've got kids that have like chronic sleep issues, and I say, get help. Go see a naturopath. If you work with the allopathic system, go see your pediatrician. Do something and figure out where those sleep rhythms are, because it is not normal for a child to not sleep. Something else is going on. I promise. Something else is going on. So if you've done all of these things that I've recommended, and you are really, committed to figuring it out, go see somebody, get some help. It's possible, chiropractics have worked wonders for my kids. If their back's out of alignment or their neck's out of alignment and they hurt and they can't articulate to you that they hurt, then laying down might not feel good. So figure that one out. If they've got birth trauma, Soraya had birth trauma. If you ever want to hear her birth trauma story, happy to tell it. She had some amazing birth trauma that took us 18 months to decode, and that child never slept, like unless somebody was holding her. And we were exhausted running our business, and exhausted, both Eric and I. And so it took a very in tune energy worker to sort of decode what was going on with her. And so you need to be open to not just physical things that are going on, but also spiritual things that could be going on. So look at the whole big picture. Children under 7 are really good at picking up spiritual garbage and spiritual good stuff. So if there's some garbage and some ick going on, either emotionally in your house or something on the spiritual plane, they're picking it up. So look at the whole picture. Don't just look at, why will this kid not sleep? Step back and look at the whole thing. So anyway, that's what I want to talk about today. I hope everybody is having a wonderful day. I know that part of at least the northern hemisphere, maybe it's just the United States, is frozen. Let me just tell you, I'm not going to tell you how cold it is here, because that you would laugh, because it's probably warmer than your high for my low. But it is even cold in San Diego right now. So in my office, I have to walk out of my front door and come down to my office. I had a blanket with me this morning and a hat on my head. And yeah, it's cold even here. And like unseasonably cold. It doesn't usually get this cold, like ever. So I feel your pain. Not maybe as much as you're feeling it, because I can remember living in Southeast Idaho and freezing my fanny off. I do not envy you, but I hope you're staying warm. I hope you're getting ready for the holiday season, and make it merry and bright. I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful start to your week. So I will leave you with that, and we'll see you next week. Bye now.